we're going to be finishing up today on the Advait. We talked about over the last couple of lectures about Advait. The concept of Advait is Advait is very unique because we deal with material life every single day. The moment we wake up in the morning, our mind starts working. Mind starts operating through these 5 windows of the senses. Senses perceive, mind makes decisions, and the 5 organs of action, mind acts through it. Every single second of our daily life is all about duality. And every time we look at the duality, every time we touch the duality, every time we smell the duality is continuously being fed back to the mind, and the belief of the mind in duality gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is what we've been doing it for all our life. So Dvait is constantly on our mind. So that's all we can think of. So the concept of Advait is out of this world, basically, because the world is all about duality. So the concept of Advait is hard to reach and hard to understand and even more harder to experience. So when you experience Advait, you are in Samadhi. So what needs to be done to reach to that state? So we, step by step, we try to explain that all things that we see are not what it seems to be. Even though by arguments we can try to understand the whole concept, say a tree is existing, but it came from a seed. And this tree existed in the seed in some unmanifest form, but it came out of it. But if you open the seed, there is nothing there. You cannot see it. So the potential for the tree existed in the seed. And then the tree came out. And then the tree will disappear in the form of multiple millions of seeds. The original tree will disappear. Millions of seeds will be born by the tree. And each seed will again carry the potential of that tree in some modified way, that the next tree that will come out will be a little different than the previous tree. So the copy of the next tree in unmanifest form exists in those millions of seeds. So it just goes on and on and on. So manifest and unmanifest are just 2 different forms of existence. So whether you exist in a manifest form or unmanifest form, it doesn't matter. So from Advait point of view, the existence is a constant phenomenon. So we should be able to do this, to see this constancy, that there is something that is permanently present. Once we get that idea in our head and realize the concept, then it becomes easy. Then the duality will be still there. It's not going to disappear. But it will not affect us, and our belief in the duality will not be as deep and as strong as it would be. It's like seeing a dream. When we see the dream, it seems so real. But when we wake up, we realize the dream was a dream. So no one can say that dreams do not exist. Dreams do exist. It's the phenomenon rather than a reality. No matter how much money you make, no matter how much you jump, no matter how much you travel, in the sleep, in the dream, none of that was real. And yet at the time when you see it, it's for real. So the duality, the Dvait, starts looking more like a dream. And to do that, you need to reach to the Advait state. And in the Advait state, where you reach to the state where you realize your own potential as an unbound, totally infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent Paramatma state, the Atma, at that level, everything else seemed like a dream. So the progress has to be made in that direction. So we talked about that Dvait is basically a part and parcel of Advait. Just like the dream was part and parcel of you. You are a real thing. Your mind is a real thing. And the mind created the dream. So you gave birth to the dream, you maintained the dream, and the dream disappeared within you. Where did it come from? Was it projected? And where it disappeared? Nobody knows. So the same way, the duality comes out of Advaita, it is maintained in Advaita, and it becomes non-existent in the Advaita. The same way the universe is created, it is maintained and is destroyed. All this thing is happening at a much, much larger scale than you and I looking at a dream at night. We all see the dreams, but at a very small scale. The same way you can kind of say that Dvaita is a dream of Advaita. So to be able to see the whole Advaita in its context is a little different vision that you want to have. And that really helps you. So the question is, how do we reach there? So we talked about all these things, and the thing is, all these potentialities, in the form of potentialities, if we really get the concept, the Advaita starts becoming a little bit of a reality. And then you have to solidify by doing the meditation and trying to realize and try to distance yourself from all the thoughts. Because all the dualities that we perceive outside, ultimately it represented in our mind in the form of thoughts. Whatever our experiences are, no matter how solid they look like, no matter how much we can smell or touch or enjoy it with our eyes or whatever, ultimately everything boils down to just like the digital language, 01010101. So every single experience in our life is nothing but a thought. So in meditation, that's what we're trying to do, is to break our connection with the thoughts. We let the thoughts come, we observe them, and let them pass. At that time, you realize that you have another state of existence which can supervise this parade of thoughts. So obviously, you and the thoughts are two separate things. Now that includes the thought of your body also, the thought of your mind also. So at that point, the body becomes a distant thing, mind becomes a distant thing, and of course the rest of the world is part and parcel, because the whole experience of the world as it is the experience of the mind. And if the mind becomes a distant thing, then the whole world of course automatically becomes a remote thing also. So that is the state that you want to reach. And at that state, the beautiful things happen is all the stress, all the anxieties that used to exist of the duality disappear. Every single experience that you have in duality is relative. If I say I am a tall guy, somebody who is not as tall as me has to be with me to make me a tall person.
Correct.
It's all relative. If I say that I have X millions of dollars and I'm so rich, somebody has to have little less than $1 million to make me feel better. Even though it is $1 shorter, it gives me an edge to make me feel better. Every single enjoyment is relative. Every single grief is also relative. If I am short, somebody has to be taller than me to make me feel shorter. I have to have same thing, feeling inferior. Inferiority complex is in duality. Superiority complex is in duality. And all these are illusions. Nobody told you to think that way, but mind keeps on coming up with all these tricks to make you think that it's real. At that time, you just cannot give up that thought. And it is so real that your whole life revolves around it. If you think about it, all this thing is to maintain what? I, capital I. Now, if you really look at it, in duality, the differentiation has to be there from practical point of view. Otherwise, at the end of the day, I might walking into Deepak's house, go in the sofa and lie down. And Deepak says, wait. It's too close for comfort. So everybody has to be identified. Everybody has to have a name. You have to have a name. I have to have a name. All these names are for practical purpose. From utilitarian point of view, the names have to be given. Now, what's the difference between, say, Deepak and I? Again, I is another name given to me to identify yourself. That's all there is. Again, for a practical purpose. From utilitarian point of view, everybody else has to be called such and such and such. And at the same time, everybody has to have their own name as I. And that's all there is. I is nothing more than just another name. And yet, we have created such a big hoopla about the I. Now that I has become so important that I sometimes pass my whole life depending and defending the I. I is so important. All these wars have been fought in the name of I. Because along with the I comes my likes and dislikes and my choices, my thoughts, my house, my keys, my wife, my children, my possessions, and I defend all this to the nail and tooth till I die. Your honor, your nation, your religion, your this and your that. All these identifications are useless. Just if you really think about it, all these are created. Nothing really comes written with that, okay, you are connected with this. A soul is born as your son or your daughter or your grandson or something. But the connections are our imaginations. Connections, we establish the connections. Nothing is written, but we believe it. And the society makes you believe it. But the society is what? It's all just an arrangement to coexist peacefully. That's all. In the jungle, there are no connection. The seed falls from the tree and seed moves on. The tree doesn't say, oh my God, my seed has fallen, let me take care of my seed. Nothing. As soon as the seed separates, the seed is on its own. Some of them die, some of them survive. It's not the concern of the tree. The job of the tree is over as soon as the seeds are born. So all these connections are all imaginations. And along with the imaginations come a lot of sufferings. There may be transient moments of joy and pleasure, but those joys and those enjoyments are all relative. So the relative pleasures are not really pleasures. The real pleasure comes in only when a true positive joy, a joy like a stream of enjoyment coming out where you cannot even explain why you are happy. You could be just sitting and just feeling good about it. And somebody asks you and you don't know, you cannot explain. That's the joy. That's the bliss. That's the peace of life in the mind. That's what you want to have. That's the state of bliss. And that's the positive attribute of reaching the state of Advait. In Advait, nothing exists. There is no duality. There is no inferiority. There is no superiority. There are no castles to build. There are no bank balances to make. Right? Wherever you want to feel, you just feel good. Nothing interferes because nothing does exist. At the Advait state, Dvait is obliterated. You are much bigger than the Dvait. And that Advait state of existence is a true state of peace, true state of bliss, and true state of enjoyment. And that is the guarantee of Paramatma, because that Advait state is a direct connection with Paramatma. But we all are born with the birthright to enjoy that state of existence. At that level, there is nothing but pleasure in life, and there is nothing but peace. So, we want to reach to that state. So, that's why we talked about all these discussions, that all these forms and names and I and you and all these things we live with is useless for the true experience of Advait and non-duality. All these things are useless. So where would you want to waste your time? All in Advait or all in Dvait? or partial, at least start a journey in the direction of Advaita. And little by little by little, try to understand your priorities, that whatever you gain in Dvaita will stay in Dvaita. Whatever you make in Dvaita will also stay in Dvaita. That's why we said, whatever you make, life might take it away. If the life does not, death will take away. So there is nothing yours. Yours and mine, all those are imaginations. So understand your priorities. Nobody says you don't have to make money. Nobody says that you don't have to have a shelter on your head. Nobody says that you don't have to take care of your son or daughter or something. But there are certain basic duties that you fulfill is one thing. But there is a bigger picture that you have to have in your mind. And when that bigger picture comes in, all the other things becomes small and less important. And if the direction of your process of working is in the towards Advaita, maybe someday you will reach Advaita state also. So it's just like, looking at the glass, which is half full and half empty. You can look at it either way. But the thing is that staying within the duality will never get you out of the duality. Rabindranath Tagore once was sitting on a boat, because he's from Bengal, so there is a lot of water. So a lot of times he spent his nights on the boat in a quietude at night. And he was in a boat with a little shelter on it, like a small hut within the boat. And he was reading a beautiful novel. And it described the sheer beauty of nature. And he got so absorbed in it. And he was really enjoying somebody's, a very artistic writing on the beauty of nature. And he kept reading and reading and reading. And into the late hours of night, till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And finally, he got tired and says, all right, let me fall asleep. He closed the book. And he was reading with a tiny lamp in the small hut that he had. As soon as he shut off that tiny lamp, there was a big full moonlit night outside. As soon as he shut off the tiny lamp, all the beauty of the moonlight filtered in, and it filled up the whole hut with sheer beauty of the moonlight that was going on outside. And the moonlight was reflecting on the river, and he became so ecstatic. He says, what was I doing for all this time? I was wasting my time on reading about the beauty where I could actually experience the beauty. Mm-hmm. So, Dvaita is a creation of Advaita. Dvaita can never take you to Advaita. Only your own efforts to experience Advaita will take you to Advaita. Advaita is something you can experience, but you cannot talk about it. Talking is not the same as experience. So it is important to realize that Dvaita, whatever we see around, is a creation of us. All these poems and all these literary classic novels or even the scriptures, all these things are creations of a human being. Mm. You will be always bigger than your own creation. If I have to give you a painting of Van Gogh, which costs say $20-30 million, what would you have, the painting or Van Gogh himself? If you have Van Gogh yourself, then you can have him create another classic. So Van Gogh is better than his paintings, of course. Mm-hmm. So our temples cannot be better than us. Mm. We are the temples of God. God created us, and we are creating the temples. How can they be better than us? To have your faith in the temples and in the statues and stop there at that point is meaningless when you have something bigger going on within you. Advaita is within you. When we want to reach the state of Advaita, all we have to do is look within, rather than spending time and energy into the Dvait, which is a creation. So that's why